In Unitarian Universalist congregations around the world, the symbol of the lighted flame in a chalice unites members in worship and symbolizes our faith in action. It represents the warmth of community and the flame of hope. The flaming chalice, like our faith, stands open to receive new truths that pass the tests of reason, justice, and compassion. If you are joining us on Zoom and have your own chalice, please light your flame as I light our communal flame that represents our connection to one another. Let's read together the words of Katie Sivani. We light our chalice as a symbol of gratitude as we celebrate the abundance of our lives together. In this sanctuary, we harvest bushels of strength for one another and offer our crop with the hands of compassion and generosity. May we be grateful for the ways we nourish and uplift each other, for it is the sharing of this hallowed time together that sustains us.
Welcome to this house of memory and celebration. To open our worship, I have a piece called Gratitude in honor of the season, the week, and it is by Swiftwalker. Let's start with the people we love and those who love us. Thankful they are in our lives, obliging us to open our hearts. Let open hearts embrace the earth, the sea and soil and stars, blessed by bold beauty, the bounty of being. Then, with hearts open to beauty, let us embrace the arts and the generation of learning that we should have wisdom. It is in that work and that alone that we can express our thankful spirit. May we make it so. As Kermit the Frog taught us long ago, it ain't easy being green. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. The words from Rumi suggest a space of unity and peace that transcends judgment and conflict. It's a call to meet others in a place of unconditional acceptance, where the need to be right or wrong is let go. This metaphorical field represents a deeper, more spiritual connection beyond the human constructs of morality and dualistic thinking. Rumi speaks to a mood where one can connect with others and transcendence itself by letting go of old thought patterns. It suggests a state of being in a relationship free from overemphasis on good, bad, right, wrong, and other ideas that separate us. The poem continues, when the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. I invite you to relax in your chair, to breathe a little deeper than usual, and imagine that field, a place beyond judgment, where friendship and gratitude flourish. Are people born wicked, or do they have wickedness thrust upon them? That's the provocative idea at the heart of Wicked, this story we're reflecting. We meet Elphaba, the so-called wicked witch, and Glinda, the good witch. But here's the twist. Goodness and wickedness aren't as simple as black and white or green. Something happens in an ordinary town. Well, it's Munchkin City in the land of Oz, but still, a green child is born. Extraordinary characters in wisdom stories have remarkable origins. The baby Moses floats in a little basket in the reeds. Jesus is born from a virgin in a manger. Athena emerges from the head of Zeus. A mysterious start can foretell a significant life. In this story, green is a symbol of otherness. Elphaba is seen as monstrous. It's a Frankenstein narrative. Of course, green can also represent nature, vitality, freshness. Nothing is simple here. Just because people are uncomfortable around her does not mean she is bad. The problem is inside the people who judge her. Elphaba has telekinetic powers that seem to come when she's upset. She's shunned by her parents. She's raised by her nanny, a talking bear. By the way, there are a lot of anthropomorphic animals in this story. Carl Jung thought a speaking creature in a story or a dream suggested a transcendent theme. It's a characteristic common in stories involving nature religion. Elphaba's younger sister is born with a handicap. The mother was taking a special medicine to make sure a child would not be green. She ends up in a wheelchair. Elphaba ends up her caretaker. The story really gets going when it's time for college, much like our lives. Elphaba is looking after her little sister, who has been admitted to the great Shiz University. I looked up the name, there's no Shiz. It suggests that the writer was playing from the word Chicago, where L. Frank Baum spent a good deal of his time, and Z, lots of stuff in Oz has Z's on it. But there is a university called Shiraz in Persia, and maybe this romance with the East and the exotic and the magic of the Oriental quality is in there somewhere. The really big arrival on this particular day is when the beautiful and charismatic Glinda arrives. Everyone wants to please her. She's fond of saying, "It's good to see me." She's actually forever showboating about how good she is, and people buy it. They go on about her goodness. Actually, she's vain and self-centered, but she knows how to work a crowd. When Elphaba enters, her green color and her sister's wheelchair draw nothing but ridicule from the students. One blurts out, "Is that contagious?" The staff patronize Elphaba. People can be judgmental. Elphaba gets upset, which releases her powers of levitation. Things fly, windows shatter. People are terrified. She's just upset. She didn't mean to scare them. But the professor of sorcery, Madame Morable, is greatly impressed. She gets Elphaba into the university, which wasn't the plan, tutors her privately in sorcery. Elphaba goes along with this, hoping success as a student will lead eventually to meeting and maybe even working with the great wizard, who she believes will be able to change her skin color. So, the wicked witch is not wicked. The good witch isn't all that good. Appearances deceive. I think we're being taught to be careful about black and white thinking. Oh, and don't believe the PR people put out about themselves. Appearances aren't what they seem. In what seems like bad luck for both of them, they end up rooming together. Glinda grew up in a castle, of course, and really only cares about being pretty and popular. Being popular is the big thing. There are many talking animals. One is their favorite professor, a learned goat. A plot is revealed that there is an effort to remove all the talking animals from positions of importance. Suppression of our animal powers could indicate our instinctual, our emotional dimensions, the wisdom of the body, what we know in our bones. Also, animals being deprived of their ability to speak can be seen as a chilling metaphor for silencing marginalized voices. And the two, by the way, the suppressing of our emotional and sensate wisdom and the suppression of minority, they go together. It's a fear of spontaneity. It's a fear of the visceral that brings such plays, such plots into play. Elphaba actually comforts the professor that the wizard will certainly intervene and stop this nefarious scheme. She has great faith in the much revered leader, who she has not met. Oh, another new student is a dashing prince. It's a fairy tale, it's got to be a prince. Okay, Fiyero. And he happens to be a dazzling dancer, much appreciated by people who like dance, and there's a whole production number in the very weird library of dancing around the ceiling and everything, very, very well done. At their first meeting, when she notices, that people are always noticing the green with a little shock in their face, and she has little things she says. No, I did not eat grass as a child. And he looks at her and says, oh, really? I did. He helps Elphaba rescue a scared lion cub. It's part of this whole thing to keep animals from talking. And she's impressed and starts to say something nice about him. So no matter how, you could have stayed back there, you know, no matter how shallow and self-absorbed you pretend to be, and he cuts her off. He says, excuse me, there's no pretense here. I happen to be genuinely self-absorbed and deeply shallow. She actually has some feelings for him, but they're not returned. He favors Glinda. Of course, they have a lot in common. The exchange in the forest reminds me of a famous sidewalk scene from Annie Hall. Can you remember this? Alvy Singer, the nerdish protagonist, played by Woody Allen, is having difficulties of relationship, and he sees a happy couple on the sidewalk, attractive, enjoying each other's company, sort of arm in arm, and he does what you never do in real life. He walks over and talks to them and says, how do you account for your successful relationship? And they look at each other, and there's a pause, and the very beautiful woman says, well, I'm very shallow and empty. I have no ideas and nothing interesting to say. And he says, oh yeah, and I'm just like that too. And Alvy walks away saying, so somehow they work something out. The heart of the story is a complicated friendship. Glinda gets one of her admirers, a munchkin, to take Elphaba's sister to a party that the prince is organizing. And Elphaba is impressed by this and pressures Morrible, her teacher, to take on Glinda for tutoring. Madame Morrible doesn't want to do it. She's only interested in Elphaba, but okay, Elphaba's her star student, and so Glinda gets some tutoring. And in generosity, Glinda tries to do a makeover on Elphaba in advance of this party. We're going to make you less green. It's funny, but it reveals Glinda's obsession with appearances. She decides to call her Elfie, which Elphaba doesn't particularly like. But Elfie, now that we're friends, I've decided to make you my new project. And Elphaba protests, you don't really have to do that, you know. I know, that's what makes me so nice, Glinda says. Whenever I see someone less fortunate than I, and let's face it, who isn't less fortunate than I, my tender heart tends to start to bleed. And when someone needs a makeover, I simply have to take over. I know exactly what they need. And even in your case, though it is the toughest case I've yet to face, don't worry, I'm determined to succeed, follow my lead, and indeed you will be popular. And there's this whole song about being popular, which was the best part of the stage play version, I thought. Anyway, it's an act of friendship, but it doesn't work. When we accept somebody conditionally, when we say, oh, you're great, now if only you, there's a problem there. If you only fix this or that or the other thing, there's a problem there. Glinda gives her a present. It's a pointed hat. Somebody had given it to her. She gives it to Elphaba as a joke, but it does match the black dress she has. Well, we've had a little demonstration. In the second row, you see, a point of fact, the hat in question here. She actually decides to wear it to the party. She doesn't know anything about fashion. She doesn't know it won't really go over well. And gets lots of ridicule and gets upset. And when she gets upset, When mommy ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. Anyway, things start to fly around. People are terrified. Her powers wreak havoc. Embarrassed, chagrined really, she starts to dance. It's kind of an awkward dance. There's this sort of mechanical look to it. But you see, it's a painful presentation there, and everybody's just staring. Glinda feels remorse and goes out and starts to dance with her and picks up the move. And actually, the two of them together kind of choreographed. It gets to look kind of interesting. It just looked awkward before. And because Glinda is so bloody popular, everybody else gets out and starts doing the dance. The moment is saved. The unlikely friendship between an outcast and a popular, privileged girl is a bridging of opposites. On a social level, it depicts overcoming reactions to someone who is different and building a real connection. Internally, it shows us how to turn toward the part of ourselves that seems awkward or even ugly and claim it as a crucial aspect of a deeper beauty. I'm reminded of a therapy client years ago. I'll call him Gary, not his real name. He had been in conflict with his brother for many years. Finally, with my encouragement, Gary went to a psychodrama workshop. The therapist started setting up a role-playing exercise as soon as they had heard about the issue. And Gary would play his brother, and another member of the workshop would play Gary. And they're setting up the chairs for this. Don't know if you know anything about psychodrama, but this is a common little exercise. Gary reported that as soon as he sat down in the brother chair and looked over at the still empty chair, which is where Gary would be, where he would be, he said it just shifted. The ground under his feet shifted. He started thinking about how difficult it was for his brother to be Gary's brother. And by the time the exercise was over, he left the workshop, contacted his brother, and they made up after years. He reconciles. After all this estrangement, well, he admitted some faults. The big change was the tone. He didn't have that judgmental tone in his voice anymore. And his brother picked up on that, and things were healed. That was the new element. This is called empathic imagination. We make up, you can do this yourself, you can make up some exercise and visualize a situation, and then take the point of view of whoever you're arguing with, and try to see how the world looks and how you look from their vantage point. It's not about solving the debate, whatever the issues are. It's just the humanity of the thing. Liberation comes when we see that our rightness is not greater than their rightness. Everybody's right. Everybody's right. We always can find an angle. And we're all identifying with the good, but sometimes we're the trouble, or at least part of it. If we cast those we disagree with as stubborn or wrong-headed, we deepen the conflict. If we frame the situation as within a tolerable range of difficulty, sure, honest disagreements, differences of opinion, variations of personal taste and preference, we're human together. It's not about right doing and wrong doing. So back to our stories. We have a prince, a sorceress, a wizard. This is a magical tale. And those characters represent principles or values and are drawn in fairly stark images and simplistic images. But still, these represent the interaction with different roles, with authority, with strangers, with otherness, the things that we counter in the world, and the energies in ourselves that somehow need to find a way to get along. And usually the conflict within gets projected out, and you can always find conflict without one needed. As we have seen, when upset, Elphaba unintentionally demonstrates amazing powers. Her teacher, Morrible, passes reports of these wonders to the great wizard, who finally invites Elphaba to come to Emerald City to meet him. It's a big honor. She has been looking forward to this her whole life. She has great hopes. She brings Glinda, who wasn't really invited, and they're dazzled by the glittering illusion of perfection that is the great Emerald City. Glinda gushes about the sparkle, while Elphaba mutters, it's a bit much. She's not as impressed with appearances as Glinda is. They're both quite surprised that the wizard is just an ordinary man. He shows them design of bricks that he's setting up as a new road, a new path, and is trying to decide on the color. Should it be red? And he hits a little control, and it's red bricks. Should it be blue? And how about yellow? And they thought like the yellow, and they're involved in something. But it's just an engineering project. He doesn't do any magic. He's a fake wizard. Well, we knew that from the other movie years ago. But anyway, they're just discovering. Oh, and Morrible is there, the tutor, the mentor, and she joins with the wizard in urging Elphaba to use the sacred book. This is the book no one can read. Actually, the wizard stared at the book and just was trying to say where he had come from and said, "Oh, Maha." And they said, "He can read it. He must be a wizard." He can't read it, but Elphaba can read it. First person around forever who could read this, and she casts a spell which puts wings on the monkeys who don't much want the wings. Anyway, the spell works. She can do this. He is, the wizard says, exactly what he's been waiting for. Yes, somebody who can do real magic. He has been holding the place together and keeping power by claiming magic, but he hasn't had any available in the place until she arrived. But the girl, the wizard celebrates, "Oh, now I have flying spies. That'll be useful." Spies. Oh, it's a harsh word. Maybe scouts, but they get it. They get what he's really up to, and that he's probably behind this whole plot to take power away from animals, not allow them to speak anymore. And they're horrified at what they have gotten themselves into. It's clear that he wants to use Elphaba's magic to advance the plot. The wizard says the best way to bring folks together is to give them a really good enemy. What he has in mind is the animals. That changes later. He has a different enemy. But this is the big scene where Elphaba realizes her hero is a fraud with no real power. You can probably think back to a moment of realization when you had faith in something and then not so much. And you think, ooh, things just changed. That's why he has to be oppressive, because he doesn't have power. Now with Elphaba, he could put the whole thing together and make it work. She has a moral decision to make. There will be many benefits. She'll live in the Emerald City, she'll have power, she'll have wealth and glory and attention. She'll probably be popular. She declines the honor. She decides she'd better do something about this problem instead. She steals the precious sacred book and takes off. And that's where the song comes in. Morrible starts a propaganda campaign against Elphaba. She'll be the great enemy that the wizard can use. She escapes by putting a cast on a broom. We're getting back to familiar imagery now. Glinda pulls away from Morrible to support Elphaba. They have an emotional parting. And this is where Elphaba claims her power. She sings Defying Gravity. Too late for second guessing. Too late to go back to sleep. It's time to trust my instincts, close my eyes, and leap. We have these moments. And Defying Gravity is not just a song, it's a spiritual declaration. I will not be bound by my fears. At the heart of Wicked is this improbable bond between a pariah and an admired Anjana. Their friendship is a testament to the power of human connection across boundaries that challenge ingrained prejudices. In the film, their initial rivalry gives way to genuine acceptance and mutual encouragement of spiritual growth. It is a commitment to seeing the inherent worth and dignity in another person, even when the world around condemns. Glinda is the first to see beyond Elphaba's green skin to the intelligent, principled person within. Elphaba, in turn, helps Glinda find depth and purpose beyond superficial popularity. Friendship, in a spiritual sense, is a mirror. It reflects our potential for compassion and justice. It demands vulnerability and a willingness to stand in solidarity even when it is difficult, especially when it challenges the simplistic right versus wrong narrative of the historical moment. The task is to resist easy binaries and affirm complexity and interdependence. Carl Jung taught us moral polarization tends to be projection. What we condemn in others often reflects some hidden corners within. Spiritual maturity involves integrating shadow rather than projecting it onto others. True integration involves embracing the creative tension of opposites within ourselves and the world. We must strive to make the two one, to see beyond illusions of duality, and recognize the complex interplay of light and dark in all things. When we have a disagreement with others, it is more constructive to see it as an honest difference of opinion. It is Thanksgiving week, an occasion of gratitude and reconciliation. Like the characters in this story, we struggle with illusions of purity and projections of villainy. Maybe we can learn from their halting steps to see past our exaggerated sense of being right to a place of human connection. Growing toward wisdom, like Elphaba's journey, requires both inner reflection and outer engagement. We need to enrich our inner lives and in turn address the injustices of the world. May we find the courage to rise above fear and expectation, to live from a place of trust, and to soar toward the fullness of our being, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing. There is a field. I'll meet you there. Action steps. Consider setting up a dialogue with diverse perspectives, a genuine open conversation with those who hold different worldviews, crossing social boundaries, and challenging our own ingrained positions. Second one is acknowledge and integrate the parts of ourselves that sometimes seem unacceptable or even wicked. How does the outcast show up within? Wholesomeness comes not from being purely good, but from embracing our full humanity. The third, and these are somewhat overlapping, embrace paradox. Learn to hold conflicting ideas and emotions without needing immediate resolution, allowing for a more nuanced understanding of truth and meaning. Visualize a situation from the perspective of someone you have disagreed with. 4, stay in the creative tension of opposites. If we consider a spectrum stretching from fear, worry, control on one hand, and love, trust, openness on the other, are we able to hold it all? Can we hold a kind of balance? And finally, practice gratitude for all our connection with others. Relationship is soul in dialogue, each person becoming more whole through the other. Imagine sending a note of thanks, or imagining one, to a friend, even if they are no longer here with us. Ponder, what qualities did they see in me that I now claim as my own? Defying gravity is a metaphor for transcending false divisions. Let us endeavor to live in a world where friendship is treasured, justice is love in action, and complexity is embraced as sacred. There's another song, which we will hear in moments from the choir. It is not from this movie, it is from the sequel, the second movie. It's called For Good. I've heard it said, the lyrics go, that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most to grow, if we let them, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I am today. I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Look around the room. Think about the cumulative effects of relationships. because I know you. I have been changed for good. Namaste. Blessed be, and so it goes.